Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live. It's 25th of August, year 2021. I hope everyone is doing fantastically well and getting ready to ask us some questions and provide us with some feedback, some insights, and wisdom. Online, we are joined by our normal panel. Kelly said he would be back in a few minutes. Kelly is our Qigong teacher, one and only Qigong teacher, and a spiritual teacher as well. And then we're joined by April, who is a psychic and a Reiki healer. She has quite a few modalities of healing. Good evening, April, and she is a spiritual teacher as well. And then we're joined by Eileen, who is here. She's getting her or has gotten her mindfulness certification. So she's going to be offering group meditation. I would strongly recommend that if you don't have a presence practice, please do join group meditation. I have been hosting the group meditation for the Facebook group, and I'm used to doing individual meditation. So the group meditation completely changed my mindset on what it means to be available in a group. So thank you so much, Eileen, for your selfless giving, for offering to help the group. So it almost is like you and Travis got me telepathically, because I was going to ask both of you that if you have more slots, because people have asked, right? We offer it on Friday, but some people cannot make it Friday evening. It's really late. So they want it at a different time slot, like so Tuesday, Saturday is beautiful. And then of course, today we are joined. There's a special guest that we have with us. It is Ken. He's one of our core group meditators and is here to provide his insights and wisdom. Good evening, Ken.
Hello there.
Good evening.
Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We are honored. It's an honor and a privilege to have all of you here. So to get started, Ken, did you want to share anything about, I think you said you had an experience. I don't know if you're at a point where you want to share your experience, or do you want to just go through the Q&A? And
right now, I would like to just go through the Q&A.
Okay.
And get a little
Beautiful.
bit of, yes, thank you.
So I pasted this question. I'm going to paste it again. This is a question asked of Eckhart, right? During this School of Awakening, probably the last session, this question was asked. Then the questioner goes, Eckhart, you're really struggling at answering this question. I can understand it is really complex. So I was like, can our panel provide more insight into it? So this is the question. What happens when the body dies to awareness? Does it retain some form of individuality? The concept of karma suggests that it retains some sort of individuality to take form into another lifetime. So I think we've talked about this topic a lot, but let's go through it one more time. April, did you want to get started?
I can try to get started. It's probably more of Kelly's area of expertise than mine. The way that I understand it is not only here on this side do we have levels of evolution, but we also have levels on the other side. So while it is a very complex question, so while the body dies and it does go back to awareness and it does go back to oneness, and it is more of a sense of oneness than it is here on the physical plane, because we still evolve on the other side, we do retain some of that individuality. That is as quick and as clear as I can make it. Yeah. So I think, you know, Kelly probably can elaborate on that much more, but it's confusing to us here on this plane as to how can we be here and there, and how can we still have our, you know, how can I be an individual soul, but yet I am part of source, which is all. So it gets very confusing. And I had this question when my brother committed suicide. I was like, well, I know he's on the other side because I can hear him. One of the first things my brother did was he was elated because I heard him say, literally, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. That was, so I got the concept that it was very expansive. So he was expanding into all and he was reaching bliss. But then I thought, well, how is he going to reincarnate then? And if he reincarnates, how can I still talk to him at the same time? So now we're getting more complex because only a portion of your soul comes into this dimension and maintains this focus. And now we step into the parallel realities of I can be doing multiple lifetimes, right? So it gets very complex, but the answer is yes, we do go into awareness, and yes, we do maintain individuality. And my assumption is that the goal is, as we evolve as a soul, eventually we do get to the point where we are fully integrated back into source, whether that be like a human, like 1,000 lifetimes, or eventually that is the end goal. So.
Thank you so much, April. Kelly, did you want to expand on what April has just stated? Thank you.
Sure. I agree with everything April said. The short answer is yes. The stumbling block usually happens with the linear aspects of ego attachment to 3D reality, in terms of not being able to understand how two things can exist in the same place at the same time. When we die, when we pass on and learn more about reality, when we choose to step through that particular threshold, we do remember. And the whole thing about the veil, the Maya, the illusion, is that we are here to experience 3D reality and to process and integrate information, no matter what that information is. And everything is a learning experience. Very well said, actually, April. I really appreciate how you express what you did. The return to oneness. I mean, yes, we are all one. We are all connected to source. We're all a part of creation. However, there is structure on the other side. There are the principalities. There are the hosts of light. And there are the other realms of energy that we have to deal with that are present because of the emanations and the ripple effects from the center of creation, in terms of the layers of vibrational density that one has to learn to exist within, and integrate those levels of information to get all the way back to source. That's my understanding. That's, you know, how I see it, how I've, you know, stuff that I've learned and experienced. When I used to have my out-of-body experiences when I was a kid, during my asthma attacks, I would end up in like a waiting room with some very nice people that used to tell me all sorts of interesting things and tell me stories and songs and stuff like that. And there was one very lovely lady who sort of resembled a combination of both my grandmothers. So it was very, very easy to just like sit with her. And this sort of thing was explained to me, that there are aspects of learning beyond just the material, physical, three-dimensional realm of reality. And that the important thing to do is to keep an open mind and an open heart, and to not judge, and to be kind to everyone that you possibly can. Which, you know, when I was a young kid, I had a temper, so that was sort of like really not an easy lesson to absorb and integrate. We retain our, you know, I really want to call it our soul contract individuality, because we are an expression of Source, but Source has chosen to sort of coalesce and bring together a certain framework of lessons as an expression of itself. And this is sort of how I view it, that even though we are a part of Source and we all are all one, my understanding, and from what I've learned and what I was shown on the other side when I had my near-death experiences, was that we do retain our individuality. We do retain our aspects of our personality, because they are a reflection of the vibration frequency that Source has put forward as our initial soul contract of expression. And so when our physical three-dimensional expression of this frequency and vibration and soul contract moves on and gets integrated back up into the other side, we retain that same frequency and vibration of our initial contract always, until we have finished processing and integrating and expressing all of those learning experiences. So, I mean, and this is where reincarnation comes in, right? The whole concept of reincarnation. And virtually every culture around the world has its own parameters of reincarnation and life after death. And, you know, it's only in the last couple thousand years that certain elements participating in this reality have tried to dissuade us from understanding that there's anything else beyond. See if I've answered. And again, the concept of karma. Karma is actually how we use our energy and vibration, how we interact with reality through our perception of reality and our awareness. The wheel of karma has everything to do with how we repeat our patterns. It's actually really simple, but our minds like to attach all these emotional energies and worries about how everything is supposed to unfold, because we like to control and project forward and project at the past and not understand how to be present, which is all about feeling, which myself, having done channeling and other such disciplines and done healing as well, you know, you learn to feel the differences in frequency and vibration, energy and emotional energy versus mental energy versus physically embedded energy, or just energy in your energy field. So there are layers to this. And this is why being present is so important. This is why understanding how to have a discipline of awareness to make sure that you are present as much as possible, as consistently as possible, because it's the consistency, not the perfection. There's no such thing in this sort of journey of learning, because there are always 1,000,001 ways to actually learn what we're supposed to learn, how we're supposed to learn it, when we're supposed to learn it. And everything gets refined in that, where we circle back around in almost a similar way to learn something at a deeper level, because we've actually progressed and evolved beyond where we were when we first encountered the lesson. A lot of traditions that speak of karma, be it the Hindu traditions, the Buddhist traditions, the Taoist traditions, the Gnostic traditions, even the Druidic, Wiccan, pagan traditions of Europe, and First Nation traditions that I've encountered working here in Canada, all talk about reincarnation, all talk about karma in pretty much the same way, just different words and application of concepts. So the short answer is yes, again. And my grandparents that I can still sort of feel every once in a while. My grandfather, actually my dad's dad, is passed away a few years ago, passed on, and he's been actually kind of loud the last couple of days. So it's sort of been kind of neat where it's just like he'll be standing there. The image I have of him is he'll be standing there with his shovel ready to go like turn the garden, like open the grass in the garden and start the garden. It's sort of just one of those perennial lasting experiences with him. And even though he has that being that chose to be my grandfather has moved on and is on the other side, it's probably reincarnated somewhere else to continue his learning, their learning, we still feel that information, that impression, that imprint of learning and experience and personality, because it is about energy and frequency and vibration. And that's how people can be in two places at once. Beautiful sharing about your brother, April, because that's what I felt when my grandfather Enns passed away. Is like, even though he was gone to the other side, he was just like so loud. And like for days after he had passed, it's like I got like there's this like constant bombardment of conversations, like reassuring and explaining of how he had wished he could have had these conversations when he was physically present, but he was grateful that I was open to hearing him and continuing the conversation, if you will. And again, frequency, vibration, it's all about frequency and vibration. And it's about feeling. And that's why being physically present, being emotionally present, mentally, emotionally, physically present is so important, because when you have those, you understand, you get it. My 2 cents.
I was about to say your 2 cents. Thank you so much, Kelly. Eileen, did you want to say something about this? What happens when the body dies to awareness? Does it retain some form of individuality?
I don't necessarily have anything to share on the question. I did enjoy listening to both April and Kelly because I feel like I learn more every time they speak. The only thing that I would add is, for me personally and my experiences, not so much with the actual process, but I've had quite a few people in the last few years that have passed in their like physical form. And my kids and I both are forever seeing and experiencing signs of those that have left us in physical form. It happens all the time. And so I do know from experience that those connections somehow, they better explain it, but somehow do stay connected even when soul moves on to other things as well.
So to someone that has not experienced that, you want to explain it a little bit more, like what would be the sign? So that others can feel, it almost is like everyone that has a loved one that has passed away kind of laments, right? They're either in sorrow or depression, not realizing that there is always a connection, like April was saying, right, about with her brother. And Kelly was saying with his grandfather, the same way. So you want to give an example of how you would experience it? That they're showing that they're still here, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was trying to think of the one that just happened a couple of days ago with my son. And as soon as he said whatever happened, I looked at him. He's like, yes, I know. He's like, it was Pop. He did it. Oh, I can't remember what it was, but it was funny. Oh, maybe it'll come to me a little bit later, but I was actually going to my friend's funeral My daughter's teacher was also my friend, and my daughter's teacher passed away almost 2 years ago now. And we were on our way to her funeral, and we stopped to have breakfast on the way. And strange thing, because I'm literally sitting at a table with someone else. I decided to listen to a meditation while I was having breakfast, even though, like I said, I have someone sitting there with me. But so I put earbuds in. And when I put the earbuds in and I plugged the earbuds into my phone to listen to the meditation, my earbuds I have a picture of it somewhere. My earbuds were actually formed in the shape of a heart, right there on the table, right in the middle of it. And I took a picture of it, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, look at that." I was like, "Yeah, that's Brooke." But things happen all the time. And I'm hoping that the experience that happened a few days ago will come back to me. But we've had driving to school one day, we had my father-in-law's car, same exact car, same color, same license plate, but different numbers, not the same numbers and letters, because we had them memorized because it meant something to him. Same exact thing, except a different organization of the letters and numbers on the license plate, parked right next to us at a traffic light. And my son was like, "Look at that car, look," at him, analyzing the car. And then it was a couple of things happened right after it that were totally pop-up things. I have to think of the other thing though. Some things are more right in your face than others, but yeah. Happens all the time.
Incredible. Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Ken, did you want to say something about the question that has been asked? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I'm loving hearing what everybody has to say. And it's no coincidence. Today, I lost my son 6 years ago to alcoholism. And he has come through many, many times in spirit to talk to me. And it's really strange what happened today. With my other son and we went and did some tree work at my ex-wife's house. And she just got back last night from the hospital from having a gallbladder attack. And then she was telling me about a dream that she had last night. And in the dream, she's very afraid of being alone and really scared. And she says, in the dream, my mother was there, and it says, "We have to go away, but I can't go with you anymore." And she looked at me, she says, "Do you have any idea what that might be?" And I said, "Yes. When I first met you, when we were 15 years old, you had a gallbladder attack. And it was all about you and your mother, and you couldn't be alone." And I says, "That's been one of your main issues your whole life." She says, "It has been. I'm petrified, and it's getting worse." And I says, "You need to surrender." And it's something where when Kenny did pass away, that is exactly when his mother and I actually connected in a more healthy, loving way. And it's funny, when that all happened with me, with Kenny, Kenny says, "Dad," this was through spirit, he says, "You need to help Ma. You're the only one that's going to help her. You know her better than anyone because you understand what we understand." So it was just incredible. And then I was just talking to her, and it's just how loving we are right now. And her husband was there. So it's just funny how all this just comes up. And it seems like every day there's expansion to things happening. And the messages are always coming in through one of the senses. And I'm just really blown away how life does expand and how things will always change. And we just need to believe it and know in our heart that we're not alone. So I'm just amazed always by the progression on everyone around me is going through something. And it seems like I can just pick up different things and able to, if I'm drawn to somebody, I know that I'm there to speak to them about something. And it's usually about the family. It's usually about our family of origin. And just start asking them different questions, ask them about their dreams, ask them about what's been going on, and then just start putting the dots together. And I'm here tonight, and I want to be able to feel really calm. So, and I'm doing fairly well with that. So here I am talking about my ex-wife being insecure and whatnot. Well, it took me a while after we separated to see it wasn't just she that was insecure, so was I. So I'm just really learning and realizing that how we mirror one another in the world. And it's no accident. And so I'm just really, really grateful to be here. And I'm starting to believe in myself and know that I'm learning a very valuable lesson right now with the people that I'm surrounded by in the panel. So thank you very much.
That is incredibly amazing, Ken. Losing a child, I cannot think of any, that's what Eckhart says, that losing a parent is easy, right? Because that's the natural progression. You lose a parent as part of their aging process. You're going to lose them anyway, right? But losing a child, what a spiritual lesson in surrender, right? And she was presented with that. And remember, coincidentally during group meditation this past Friday, we talked about when when somebody raises their vibrational energy. Remember Nada, Marla, and Jonathan were talking about it.
Relationship, yes.
Your vibrational energy must have risen as your son passed away, and it separated the two of you. Your wife and yourself.
Yes.
That was a natural break of frequencies, right? The quantum entanglement was no longer there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful lesson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eileen just chatted that you had something, Eileen. Go ahead. You want to add
Yeah,
to what
sorry.
Ken has said?
Of course.
No, sorry.
As soon as I want to say something, someone comes in the room and starts talking to me every single time. I wanted to say, I almost like unmuted myself while you were talking, Ken, because I was like, so many things came up for me while you were talking. One, I am extremely grateful that you're here because I know I've been asking you for a while to come. Because I think your energy is amazing and you're always like spot on and you're very real. I was telling Poonam this, but I had goosebumps when you were talking. Something that I didn't tell you before, but is coming up for me now, and I don't know why I haven't told you before, is my father has the same name. my father's kin.
Mhm.
And you were talking at the beginning about your son and him being an alcoholic and calling him Kenny. And my brother, my oldest brother, I'm the oldest, but he's only like a year younger. He actually is named Kenny and is an alcoholic. And we don't communicate, haven't for years. So like you were talking and like I had goosebumps. He's still with us, thankfully, even though I don't see him ever. But so yeah, I had goosebumps when you were talking. And there was something else that came to me about you, but like I said, child walked in, started talking, scrambles my brain. So maybe that'll come back to me later. But I remembered the thing about Pup Up. So Zachary went to a place that he used to go to with his Pup Up. He went with my mother-in-law last week. And so they went to this place. He'd always gone there. This is the first time they're going without Pup Up. And they get to this special picnic place that's where they're visiting. And I don't know what the official name of them are, but it's like a ball that's on a tree and it has like spikes on it. I don't know the official name of it, but they like fall out of the tree sometimes. So they fall and then, you know, they hit you on the head. So it falls out of the tree, hits him on the head. And he was like, oh my gosh, Pup Up, because Pup Up used to pick them up off the ground and like throw them at him and like hit him in the head.
Wow.
So he came home and he was like, you are not gonna believe. He's like, I know it's Pup Up. But like, yeah, like just happened to hit him right on the head. But yeah, they're definitely still here with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you so much. This is a great conversation. What I wanted to ask April is, as I read this question, April, do you get the feeling that this person is actually kind of mixing up individuality and karma? Like they're not clear of what karma is. So they're kind of thinking that the individuality of the soul, right? Or what is probably, yeah, the individuality of the soul, or that soul contract that Kelly was talking about, that they're confusing the two issues. I got that feeling that they're confusing the two issues, that they're thinking that the individuality of the soul is karma, right?
Yeah, it kind of looks like that when you read the question. You know, the concept of karma suggests that it retains some sort of individuality, almost like, and almost like a punishment type. You know, like I have this karma, so I haven't finished this karma, so I have to keep this individuality. Well, and then like Kelly was saying that, you know, you have an original soul contract. So in a sense, that's kind of true, I guess, but and then the karma does continue because, so it's so tricky to clarify this, because the karma does in a sense continue. That is why you're on this journey. That is why you come back multiple times to, you know, learn these lessons. So but it's not, we can't ever forget the element of free choice, free will. So you may have gathered some karma in this lifetime per se. I always joke with my husband and say, whatever karma we're creating, we're deleting before we're done. We're not making another contract. Like, we've done this so many times. But that element of free will is there. So just because perhaps, in this context, and I know there's a bigger context to karma, but in this context, let's say that you gathered a bunch of karma in this lifetime. That doesn't mean that the next lifetime you have to come back and you have to address that exact karma. It's not, you do have the element of free will. So I think you're right. It does sound a little bit like they're
This
kind of
confusion.
missing it. Yeah.
So we do have a question, so don't mute yourself. I'll start with you. Lakshmi asks, and thank you so much, Lakshmi, for all your creativity. She says, do thoughts die as soon as the body dies?
No, they're different, but no. No, they're not the same, of course, as in the physical body. Thoughts are not even necessarily within the body. So they're just different. Trying to think of how to explain that. She has some good questions. She brings up some of the most difficult questions that we have, doesn't she? Yeah. She thinks pretty deep. Her thinking is very deep. Thought is creative. So I'm going to say no, it is in a different form. It's not in the same form here as in the 3D where we get taken over by thoughts. That is probably, one of Eckhart's signature traits or talks that he gives, but it is one of the biggest things that I do find a problem with people still to this day, is they do not separate themselves from their thoughts. They think just because they thought it, that it is real. But thought is a form, it's an energy form. So there are still thoughts on the other side, it's just different. You want something and it, you want to go golfing, and instantly you've manifested the golf course. So you think of it more, Lakshmi, on the other side as a creative force, much more than it is here, instantaneous, but it will not stop per se.
Thank you so much, April. I kind of feel it's the brain processing the thought is what dies, right? The thoughts are there because it's like electromagnetic frequency is there, because even Eckhart says, right? I've posted that particular video where he says thoughts are like bubbles. They're little bubbles and they come attached to you. The only thing that will die is the physical form. The brain that is processing the thought is gone. But then it's a different kind of communication at the psychic level because the form is gone. So this form of communication does not happen.
Yeah, and Bruce Lipton, sorry, I'm shooing a fly away. Bruce Lipton, he explains that, thoughts are not in the body, and they used to have to hook you up to the electrodes, and now we don't even have to do that. We can measure your thoughts out here because they're a form, they're an energy, they're a frequency. So again, everything is energy, everything is a frequency. We think they're in our head, but they're not necessarily in our head. The brain is just the processing center. It's the information. It just processes the data.
Thank you. Thank you, April. It almost is like on the computer, if the microchip died, the electrical signal is still coming, right? The radio receiver is still receiving. I mean, the radio receiver may die, but the calibration may die, but the radio signals are still coming through, right? It's something like that. Abraham Hicks uses the radio receiver analogy a lot. That makes it a little bit more clear that when our body and brain dies, then the radio receiver has
what you're bringing up, Poonam, goes back to the other question too, because Bruce Lipton also addresses that. He says my radio frequency is mine. That's my individuality. Your radio frequency is yours. Kelly's is Kelly's, Eileen, but it is individual. And we retain that individual frequency, which is what Kelly was saying. So I have a different dial on the radio, and that is my dial. And the same thing is, when I die, this physical body dies, that doesn't mean that my frequency goes away. My radio station stays. Now, if I choose to pick up another body to pick up that station, again, I can do that, right? Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Kelly, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I look at this a little differently. My short answer is yes. However, defining thought, from my perspective, thought to me is the mental analysis projection of reality. So the projection of analysis, of understanding all the information that we hold in our energy field. So when we die, the mental projection ends. So in that context, that aspect of form stops. However, all of the information, the origin of all the programming that cause all of those thoughts in terms of our karma, the energy and the vibration and those structures stay in place if we have not dissolved them and deconstructed them. So it's kind of a yes, no answer. I really appreciated, April, how you explained it. I do agree with you, except for me, there's sort of that added aspect of how on the other side, it's the knowing and the understanding. It's not exactly thought. Like as you were saying, it's not the same thing. My short answer is that yes, the thought forms attached to that particular expression in 3D reality of our physical embodiment on this planet, those no longer have a tether, nothing to anchor them. So the program of those thoughts being projected outwards ends. But the origin, the karma, the patterns, that energy of those patterns, the origins of the behaviors remains intact if it has not been transmuted. So on the other side, in terms of, again, April, as you said, this goes back to the other question, the individuality, or the concept of how the individuality sort of like keeps going. And it goes to what I said about how we all have this very specific original soul contract, original parameters of our soul of creation expressing through us, our own facet of energy and vibration coming together to experience reality on this planet. It takes on a new shape each time. And when we come back, the origins, again, the origins of our karma, the origins of our lessons, those structures, if they have not been transcended, if we have not dissolved those aspects of our soul contract to clear our path back to source, those haven't been cleared, then they resurface and they come back. And those thoughts and those patterns and those conditions for those thought patterns all rise and come back again. And this is, I'm trying to explain how this sort of connects to what you said about how thought is formed, because this is one of the things that people have a hard time sort of digesting. It's like, my thoughts are like, they're, everyone goes like, well, they're in my head, right? So how can they like have an impact? They're in my head. And it's sort of like, well, yeah, but no, because all thoughts are energy. And as you said, they're energy first. We are energy first, and they're in our energy field. And this is, again, I'm sort of regurgitating or saying it all over again. If we haven't purified our energy field, if you have not purified ourselves of limiting belief structures, limiting thought forms, as in limiting energy that block us from pure connection to source, it all comes back next time we embody. So in a sense, thoughts do stop because that mental habit of projecting with our mental energy no longer has the same access to energy when we pass over and we're on the other side. So that aspect of thought in my perception stops, but the energy and vibration are still there. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Okay.
So Michelle has asked a question, and I'm going to add to her question. So when we have that initial soul spark that broke off from source,
Yeah.
and our original soul contract was created, she's asking, can we know our contract? This is where we get into the Akashic records. My question is, what are the laws in changing the contract? Am I actually able to change that contract? And is there a set of, okay, you have, this might seem elementary, but you have 14 things that you're going to learn before you get back to Gandhi state, right?
Yep.
So do we actually have control of changing that initial original spark, that initial contract, or no?
Asking me?
Yes.
Short answer is yes. Short answer is definitely yes. And this is why being present and being emotionally responsible is so important, because when we understand how to be in that space of alignment with our hearts, that's what stops karma. That when we still our minds, when we stop our karma, we step out of duality, we step out of that emotional swinging pendulum, and we align. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps here. Ooh. Yes, the thing to understand is active, what I call active participation. Because when you surrender to spirit and when you surrender to creation and source, and you let that space of understanding and knowledge come through, and you can access your Akashic records. You can access all of your information and see the patterns and understand the triggers. When we understand our triggers of how we let our egos get a hold of us and hijack us, we understand our karma. This is why being emotionally present is so, so, so important. The more we practice that discipline and hold our space and balance and create balance against those patterns, the more we transmute karma. Because when we hold space against those patterns, what we're doing is we are keeping those patterns from having any leverage or any momentum in our energy field. And this is how you transmute karma. So you can go all the way back to that.
So is it a consensus that generally all of us basically have the same contract?
Yeah.
In essence, that we have the same lessons, like we all need to learn how to deal with anger. We all need to learn how to deal with, right? Or we all need to learn unconditional love, patience, all of it.
In that context, I would say yes.
Yeah.
In terms of understanding how to be, kind, grateful, healthy, and, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But in terms of our own personal, again, going to that original question, the individuality, like every soul contract is different, but being on this planet, because we have so many layers of energy connected to our physical embodiment, we are all here kind of learning that same thing of like how to deal with being here and how to, deal with, whether or not we're going to like just watch the movie and be along for the ride, or whether or not we're going to like actively participate. So in a general sense, yes, we all have that same journey of learning how to be aware and what to do with that awareness and how to be kind and gracious and loving and, that whole thing. So in that context, I would say, yes, absolutely. We all have the general journey of understanding how to deal with being here. But we all, we all have individual journeys amongst that whole, in terms of what's been mentioned before about the global consciousness. As a whole, we're all here to learn, right? And to understand. And some of us have very specific aspects of things to learn to really progress and catapult us forward on the journey. Some of us are just here along for the ride to witness everything. So, yeah, I mean, while we all have that general, need to understand how to be healthy humans, healthy expressions of embodiment, and to learn how to deal with that, we still all have our own, that influence of that initial soul spark and soul contract.
Thank you, Kelly. April, to your question, does everyone have the same soul contract? Now just look at your brother's story, right? If he had the same soul contract, why would he pass away? So his soul contract was actually to provide a lesson. Some souls take birth because they are here to provide the lesson of compassion, of gratitude, of unconditional love, of forgiveness, right? Like if he had I think Seth in Nature of Personal Reality says, if you have a disabled, like you don't have an arm, like a person is disabled in this lifetime, how are they going to change? Can they change their limiting belief? They cannot change their limiting belief because they are disabled, physically disabled, right? So the soul contract then for that disabled person is actually to provide a lesson for the people, the caregivers of that person. Right? So it's a different soul contract. This person took life in this form to provide a lesson. The same thing with miscarriages, like so many mothers have miscarriages, right? Or stillborn children. So what is the soul contract of this baby that took form? And then the soul said, okay, I'm not going to take form, I'm going to leave.
So, and that is true. And then, so the initial question is, can we know our contract? Yes. And what Kelly was saying was, if you want to figure out your contract, I think we make it very confusing and we make it seem like it's out of reach. But the answer is look at your triggers. That's your contract. What has triggered you in your lifetime? And then also look at your trials, your tribulations, your crosses to bear, however you want to word it. That's your contract for this lifetime. And then going beyond that, what I was asking with Kelly was saying, okay, so basically we all are on, if you look at it from the global consciousness level, we're on the same contract, unconditional love. Love, that's where we're all going. We're all on that same evolution, but individually, so individually, mine and you, all of us here on this panel and here today can, you could give it the name, we're light workers, right? That would be part of the initial spark contract, would be light workers, or we could be the observer, or you could be the animal person. So it breaks down to different levels, is how I'm understanding it and how I was. So I guess when I asked that question, it's funny that I asked that question, because if somebody was to ask me this question, I can answer it. But when I asked that question, what happens when you ask that question? You have flipped back into human mode and said, there's a bunch of stuff in my life I didn't like. How do I change my contract? Which is not acceptance, which is not surrender, right? So if I want to change my contract, then I'm not accepting some things. I'm not surrendering to all of these wonderful, my brother dying, the gifts that were in all of that. So
The way to
And-
change your soul contract is when Kelly says be present, it's not so much as be present. It's more like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, right? We have to be in the unknown. Where we are nobody, no time, nothing. When we are in that nothingness, we are in a memoryless state. We are pure vibrational energy. So there is no soul contract at that point. But can we sustain that as we are interacting with the world? Can we sustain that being in the unknown, which we cannot? On his retreats, like maybe the 7 days, somebody goes through 6 hours of or a day of being in that mystical dimension, right, of the unknown. But you cannot sustain. That's where remissions happen. That's where a person that has brain tumor, a huge big tumor, within seconds they have a remission and they cure it, right? So their soul contract, within seconds they cured it. In one instant of being in the unknown. But you have to transcend, like you have to ascend your energy, right? Be that infinite potential that we are. And that's how we erase our soul contract. And Ken wants to say something. Are you good, April?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I know the answers to it, and I'm probing Kelly. I'm probing him for the initial spark, the initial big bang. That's what I'm probing him for. All my questions go back to that initial bang. Like, why do that?
It's
Why
just one big, huge, fun slide.
why separate me from God? Like, just leave me there. Can I go home? I don't really want to go home, guys. I'm just joking.
Yes, I just wanted to say, to me, this is like universal school. And in this past year, I've been letting go of self-reliance more and more and more, and getting out of mind energy. And so I've been doing a lot of 12-step work for years and years. And as I do the steps and go deeper and deeper, I'm going through the same thing, but I'm going deeper, or I'm diving deeper into the same lessons, because more and more information has been coming to the surface. And I call them invisible splinters. It's something where when something feels uncomfortable, I know right off, I say thank you with gratitude that I have something to learn, because the discomfort is inside of me. So I'm learning to just listen. And I'm realizing that, who am I listening to? And it isn't me. It's like knowing today, even I'm listening to everybody. And I already know tomorrow is going to be a beautiful day, because I'm going to have some incredible downloading of information. Today has been such an incredible day with so much love that I've been feeling, that I've been surrounded by. And I'm starting to just be aware of what's around me, what's being said, how am I hearing it? And it's like my body is constantly speaking to me. I'm learning more and more when I pray, when I meditate, when I ask God, help me to be the best that I can be. And whether I walk in the woods, which is one of my favorite places, it's amazing the thoughts or the information or the downloading that comes in. And it will depend if the sun's out, if the leaves are starting to come out. I'm realizing that that's just a mirror of me. And I'm starting to see a code with everything. And I'm seeing how everything is interconnected. And the more like I'm like, and I'm going to be babbling a little bit. I can't believe how much fear I had to get on this panel. And today I'm like, and I remember probably a month ago, I said something about fear. And I remember April said something, fear, what is that? Or something, said something. And I just smiled and I went, thank you. because I know that how information is coming in, it's almost like my higher self is setting me up in some way. I don't know. Where just listen. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to analyze it. Just be thankful that it's there. So
Beautiful.
Maybe. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. Amazing. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
So the question about the soul contract, you actually had, it's amazing that Eileen was just talking right before. Look at the incredible synchronicity of this. Eileen, right before this panel started, talked about what her soul contract reading was. So Eileen, you have the answer to can the soul contract be read? Go ahead. You got a reading.
It literally happens to me every week now. We were just talking about this before the panel, and then somebody asked about it.
You can just tell them what was the discussion that the two of us had.
Yeah,
Right
we were
before
having a
this.
conversation about how my life has too many things going on at the moment, and something's gonna have to go. And Poonam was saying how you have to align with what your life's purpose is. I said, oh, well, I actually know what my life's purpose is because I just had my soul contract reading done like last week or the week before. I said, I know what it is. I said, and I could tell when the person said it that it was spot on because of what it said. I won't read the whole thing, but basically, it's worded in a way that I am meant to be a teacher, which I am a teacher, but you can tell by the way that it's worded that it's not talking about a school teacher. It's not at all. And so when she said it, I was like, oh goodness, because here for 20 years I've been teaching and I've always felt this is my, my purpose. This is, and it obviously is not that type of teacher purpose. But yeah, I had it done and it was amazing to have it done because as they were going through the whole process, everything was exactly spot on, from the karma that was involved, the strengths, the weakness, all of it. Maybe not worded in the way that I would have said it, but as soon as it was said, I was like, oh, of course it says that. Like, of course it's that. But yeah, it's an amazing experience.
You want to let Michelle know who read it so that she can contact Jillian?
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if April does it too. I said Jillian and April, I think. I don't know if you do them too, April.
I can tap into it, but it's not a specialty that I have.
Oh, okay.
So
I wasn't sure, so I
and
said those two
the
names.
thing, Eileen, I cannot think of any greater purpose than teaching children mindfulness that you're teaching.
Oh,
children.
no, I definitely do.
Like that, if we could teach our children
I
this,
so
the
agree.
world that we will have. Yeah.
Yes, I so
So
agree. But I
Thank God for you.
I also know that just from 20 years experience teaching that for things to happen on a larger scale, it's going to require the adults in their life to be mindful. And so, I still teach, and I still work with children, and I teach mindfulness and meditation to my own children. But I'm becoming more and more aware that more and more adults also need to be doing that, because kids learn the most from the people who they're around, and they need role models, and it can't
But
just
you
be
are starting that
one.
because the kids that you're teaching
one teacher.
are going to grow up and
Yeah.
be that way. So you're starting that global change. That's what we
Mhm.
need.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do you want to read Summer's question, basics of a contract? Thank you,
Yeah.
Ade.
Yeah, and I
And
think another
April,
one.
it's for you.
I think another one just came through too. Let's see. Basics of a contract must be related to being better humans, but then why do sociopaths and molesters and abusers deviate from that basic contract? And are the people witnessing on one of their last trips on Earth? Oh, that's another question for Kelly. Sorry.
So Samara, what we've done here tonight is Kelly has made a distinction between, we've made a distinction between your original soul contract, where you were created as a soul, that branch off of source, and then you having lifetimes. Okay, so Samara's saying, why would they go away from that basic contract of we're all supposed to evolve and we're all supposed to learn to love each other unconditionally? And one is because we have individual contracts, and we've talked about how, like my brother dying was a lesson for everybody within the family. And he as a soul said, hey, I'll go down and my life's going to be short and you all are going to learn. The same thing with the psychopaths, the molesters, and all of that. Everybody picks a role in this movie of life, and it is all for a reason. And like what you were saying, Poonam, Joe Dispenza tells a story of a lady who was she was a mail lady, right? And she put her hand in a thing to get some mail and the bomb goes off, but she chose that so that she would heal herself. So that can even be, so that is why on one of the other concepts that I have always thought is, and humans we have done this, but for people to behave in those ways, to me, it's a demonstration as to how far away from source or from oneness they are. Because if you really got the concept of oneness, you would not be able to behave that way. Okay. And then are people witnessing? Some are witnessing their very last, she asked that for Kelly, last time here on Earth. She asked that for Kelly. So.
Do you have an answer to that question? Since all questions are for everyone, so everyone can
well,
answer.
the answer is yes. Some people will choose not to come back here. They will choose to go to another dimension, another place. So yes, there are some that are having their last trip here on Earth. Yes.
So going back to the Joe Dispenza, I kind of thought that you were going to bring this up. So in one of his Q&As, Dr. Joe Dispenza is describing this whole concept of forgiveness, right? Why should we work on our forgiveness? And then he talks about this woman who was raped by 4 men and brutally, violently raped. There was abuse involved, right? And so she comes to his week-long advanced retreat or whatever, advanced class, he says. And then she goes into the mystical dimension, right? Where she connects to source. Like he actually raises everyone's vibrational energy and does a incredible job at it, because people have mind-blowing experiences in his advanced retreats. So what she sees when she connects with the divine, she hears a voice say, I sent you 4 divine angels to show you your misalignment. So those 4 men were angels. And the moment she knew that, like she had 30, 40, 50 years of non-forgiveness, right? She was she was treating her body badly. She had all kinds of disease state because of the resentment, the grievance, the toxicity of what she was holding within her. She couldn't trust anybody. She wouldn't trust anybody around her. Like a lot of resentment. And the moment she had that voice from the divine say that to her, she was healed. And that goes back to what April is saying, that their soul contract is to provide that lesson to the other, right? That, hey, you're not aligned with source. Get aligned with source. You're looking for love, or you're looking for unconditional love. And this is how I am so unconscious that this is how I can show you love, by being brutal, right? And that's all I'm going to, that soul's contract is that. So, saying that everybody's soul contract is the same. Some unconscious human beings are here to provide us with the spiritual lessons. That's their soul contract, is to provide us with spiritual lessons. If this violence was not there, if the suffering was not there, then how would we learn? How would we know the contrast, right? If Caesar was here, he would talk about the contrast of it. On the similar lines, Sadhguru was asked this question, is if a little girl gets raped, then what is her karma in it, right? And Sadhguru says that is not the karma of the girl. It's the karma of the whole planet. It's the collective karma that is being shown that we cannot even keep a little girl safe. So do we have that consciousness that we will keep each and every girl on this planet safe? We keep our child safe, right? I fiercely protected my son, even being a male child. I never let him go anywhere on sleepovers, nothing. Like if the sleepovers needed to happen, they needed to happen in my house. I'm not going to let him go anywhere, right? And he was a male child. How fiercely was that protected, right? So can we protect each and every person on this planet the same way? That's what it is showing. And the drama will play out, right? It's Maya, Leela, the divine game, as they say in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says it's Leela. Okay, Kelly, you want to speak to this basics of a contract?
I really like everything that's been said on this already. It is very true that the original contract that we all have to be here is to learn. When it comes to understanding our lack of connection with source, we sometimes need very painful experiences to show that to us. Pain is always a key in getting us to feel and getting us to break patterns through having to feel so much, so intensely. And Poonam, I really like your analogy of, like the global consciousness. We have a thing to deal with on that level as well, in terms of understanding the patterns of such pain being commonplace. And it's a reflection of how far and how out of alignment the human race as a whole has gotten, that we have so much chaos, misery on the planet right now. It's not exactly about being better humans, it's about learning. We as humans, with our consciousness, we have the privilege and the blessing of being able to be conscious of how to actively participate in our lives and how to choose. However, there are people who are here to be completely unconscious. And this is also where understanding that shadow is an actual thing as well. When we were talking about thought forms earlier, there are such dense thought forms that they are literally shadow, that they are dark, and that they carry a very dark and very unpleasant vibration and energy with them. And this is sort of gets into the actual structure of the energy and vibration that we have to deal with. And this is sort of where I disagree with certain concepts of like, oh, well, we just need to be, you know, all love and light because everyone is all one and we're all here to be all love and light. And it's just like, well, yes, but also we have to be aware that there are people here on this planet who are not love and light and who never will be in their current embodiments. And it's important to keep that in mind when dealing with people, because sometimes people do not have it in their soul contracts to grow whatsoever, and to be completely unconscious and to be completely in darkness. And this is to, and I've had a few people like this in my life, and the learning that I have had as a result of having these people in my life is truly profound. One of the things about pain and darkness is that it is supposed to teach us about, through the shock of experiencing that level of density, that level of darkness or shadow, it's supposed to teach us what we do not want and how out of alignment we are if we are participating in those types of energies and frequencies. And that's just the way it is sometimes. This is why being present is so important, so that we can guard ourselves and be conscious and aware of our energy and our frequency and our vibration and being in our own space, so that if we encounter such individuals, we are prepared and capable of avoiding their hooks, avoiding their traps, and not needing to co-create a learning experience with them. Because generally those learning experiences are very unpleasant. Whether or not they are overt and very obvious and brutal, such as the cases of assault, or whether or not they involve very subtle aspects of narcissistic relationships and those types of subtle mental and emotional abuses. So it's not exactly a deviation, because in order to heal things in a very quick succession, sometimes souls offer themselves up to teach those kind of very intense and brutal lessons. And I think that's where Poonam was speaking from in terms of your own expression on this subject. And to go to Summer's comment about, again, April, what you said about some of the people who are here to witness. Yeah, some people are just here along for the ride. They're eating popcorn the entire way and sipping on their drinks and watching the movie play. And as I mentioned before, like, some people are just completely unconscious and they never will be conscious this embodiment. And they're just here to experience the energy and the information on the planet before they move on. Again, going to what that last post about Poonam's comment, it's a hard thing to get around, because I know, like, in a lot of the Buddhist communities that I've been a part of over the years, people just want everything to be happy and positive and sunshine and rainbows. And it's just like, no, when you actually start digging through your karma and you understand the active participation that you've had in making some of your choices that have contributed to your karma and to reinforcing negative patterns, and or participating or having people in your lives that are of that depth, that dark and unconscious aspect of reality, you have to look at those dark places. You have to understand how your interaction with those people has affected you or impacted your perception of reality. And there are a lot of the stuff in some of the meditation groups that I've been to, and especially in the new age community, there's a general lack of understanding or acceptance or people just want to feel good about themselves. And digging through your karma, digging through your patterns that you have to heal is not a pretty thing.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much. I remember like somebody having a mass shooting of first graders or kindergartners in Connecticut. What was it called? It had a name. Does anybody remember that? It
Yeah.
happened a few years.
I think that was a Sandy Hook shooting.
Sandy Hook, perfect. Thank you. When that happened, I looked at it from the person who actually was the shooter, his perspective. And I went, was there not a teacher, a mother, an aunt, a father? Did they not even pour like a little bit ounce of compassion in this person? That they couldn't see young children. Look how our society, how violent our society is. Right? That's what this person is showing, that they cannot even have compassion for little children. Like they are 6-year-olds, right? They're not even like adults or anything, not saying that adults are okay, but that this person couldn't see that this is a 6-year-old that I'm going to like take their life, right? Was there not an aunt? Was there not a mother? So just imagine what impressions was made on this person's soul from when they were born till when they committed the crime, that they lost every bit of empathy, every bit of compassion. How are we as a society giving birth to such human beings on this planet? That's all that it is showing. Like all these mass shootings, all these incidents, when we say psychopaths, that's what they're showing, is the violence in the collective, like Kelly said, the dark shadow of our society, the dark shadow on this planet, that there is so much violence. Look at the war in the Middle East, right? It's crazy. How long can it last? Like, what is it, 20, 30, 40? How many years can you think the other is an enemy and it's just another human being of this planet? It's an inhabitant on this planet, just like the tigers of this planet and the elephants on this planet. And you're taking each other's life, like year after year, decade after decade. So it's just showing our unconsciousness, our collective unconsciousness is what the dark shadow, as Kelly says. So thank you, Kelly, for that lesson. Eileen, did you want to say something about Summer's question? And then Ken can wrap it up.
I don't need to add anything to that that hasn't already been said, but thank you.
Thank you so much, Eileen. Ken, you want to wrap it up?
Well, I'm just, I'm kind of lost for words right now. I just love what I'm hearing, and I need a little time just to process. But I'm just so happy to hear so much. Even what you were just talking about with the compassion for the younger people. And I'm really seeing in myself and in others how important it is to realize that the pain and suffering is the stepping stones from our own woundings to be healed. And I'm just really realizing tonight even more how much work that I've done to open my heart and to be so grateful that I'm starting to really feel the dots coming together of how important it is that with what I went through is my purpose is to help others since I've experienced it. So I'm just really grateful for that. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful recap. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
Eileen, you want to mention what you want to mention?
It's just saying, I guess I really should have mentioned gratitude. And then just as I was typing it, Ken said it. That's what I was going to say. For those that watch the panel discussions every week, they will know a lot of my history and that we've had extreme traumatic suffering in our lives here, me and my family. And that's what did it for me, did healing wise, was just something as simple as gratitude. Like, we're seriously grateful for everything and anything that ever was, whether it was anything, all of it. It's hard to explain.
We're grateful for the pain and suffering and the lesson that was offered, because it taught us forgiveness. And now we are at that point where we are unconditional love. We can dwell in the unknowable, right? Be the unknown and be in that memoryless state instead of regurgitating our suffering in our mind, the self-talk in the head. So I am deeply honored. This was an incredibly amazing session. I hope everyone has enjoyed it, whoever is watching, and deeply humbled. It has been an honor and a privilege. I don't know what happened. Something magical happened. Something mystical happened. We were showered with a lot of grace, a lot of sacredness today. And I'm going to take it, when I fall asleep, I'm going to sleep with contentment. There's so much goodness in all of you. And I'm so humbled. Eternally grateful. Many blessings to all of you here, as well as out there virtually with us, all the attendees, Lakshmi, Michelle, everyone that has Summer, everyone that has asked questions. So week after week, you all are there for us, and nothing but infinite gratitude. So have a wonderful night. Good night. Have a fantastic day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Many blessings.